Driving today in a Class 150-2 in GWR's livery. We're going to prepare the train for departure, so just open the doors to let passengers to board. Set the headlights up. I always get confused. It's the upper position. Tail lights come off. Marker lights come on. And what we'll do is we'll just scroll through to get the Ives. Position, there we go. We can keep DRA on as there's a red light at the end. I'm going to quickly run up the platform to check what signal we're against. 070. So we are train 2 Delta 05 and we said 070. There we go, our doors are closing as we're registering. So set the reverser forward. As you can see, we're against a red light still. So now I'm going to reach the DRA and I'll advance up the platform towards it. But we'll want to go very, very slowly. So our starting speed limit is 15 miles an hour. Now this route is on the Railways of Devon and Cornwall map. Just as we inch our way up the platform, a quick cab to the Class 152, very similar to the Class 151, which we drove in the last route loading video that I made. From left to right, we've got the train brake, which is Westcote 3-step brake, which is release, step 1, step 2, full service, and emergency. Got the various switches over here. I'm actually going to cue the instrument light switches. But the main ones to worry about are the marker light switches, the instrument light switches, the destination indicator, although in this unit we have a digital screen, so that's no longer needed. We've got the green light, so I'm going to accelerate a little bit more now. The tail lamps, the headlights, and the compressor speed up. That's basically only used, but that's only used when I'm preparing the train. Got the wiper controls, engine start-stop, brake indicators, and speedometer. Got a 7-notch controller, so power controller, and a 4-position reverser handle, as well as the GSMR and the master key. So we were following out the night sleeper, which is not a Riviera, on its empty coaching stock. I believe I think we'll actually be overtaking it as it goes into the depot. So we've still got that 15 limit, and that 15 limit's on until we basically clear Penzance. Unfortunately, the scenery between here and St Earth is quite limited. As soon as we clear pretty much a long rock depot, but I'll put a timestamp on the screen. I'll put like an annotation on the screen of the timestamp, where to skip forward to if you don't want to view the drive through the countryside. So you've got the 70 limit coming into force here. So pretty much when we see the buffer on the right hand side there disappear, that's when we'll start our acceleration. Actually we'll do it a little bit sooner, we'll do it now. And it's purely because the Sprinter series of multiple units is hydraulically powered, so you get a few seconds of lag as the engine revs up whilst the oil's transferred from basically the pump into the gearbox. I'm not great at explaining hydraulics, so please don't expect me to. Speed limit does go up to 75 miles an hour, which is the top speed for this type of unit, but that's not until we clear Long Rock Depot. As you can see, we've got the 57.6, the 57.6s on the sleeper empty stock. I'm using the I actually swapped out to use the Vulcan Productions ones, and then I think that's the Super Alps reskins for the coaches, because it originally used the Super Alps 57 for motive power. Or a Stromwell Castle leading. You get a little bit of a stutter as the game tries to load up Long Rock Depot. Got the Welshman, I think that is, outside the depot. Yep. Ukimro, sorry. Got some HST sets on depot as well. You can't see it, but there's actually a castle out in the bay. It's over there. And the track now goes to a 2-track wide. I've got the 75 limit there, so I can just keep accelerating up to 75. Okay, so this scenery, as I say, does slim out after here. I do believe this is being worked on. This is version 10 of the Railways of Devon and Cornwall route by high-speed rails, so it does, I'd assume this will be worked on in the future, but it just isn't quite there yet. I do still think this is a stunning route. Okay, I'll include the timestamp now because the scenery is rather scarce here, but it's not that long at all. Okay, so as mentioned, our stops are going to be St Erth, Lowland Saltings, we then go past Lowland Station, which we do fast, Carbis Bay fast, and then St Ives. Now the breaking point for the station is actually as we're climbing up to the brow of a hill here. Once we get to the brow of that hill, that's actually where the breaking point is, but you'll see me cover that better as we start slowing down the procedure. I'm trying to retrain myself to do these videos, and that's just going to be, through actually doing them without any notes at all. So I did this as a run yesterday with the hood up to figure out my breaking point, and I've got an idea of it in my head, and now I'm driving it for real. So things like the distances, I've not memorised those, but I've got a vague idea of where I should be braking for what. So yeah, I do believe it's after this curve. Again, the lack of scenery here does make it actually, it's still continuing, my apologies for going up the hill still. So yeah, it's this route, one of the things this route does sort of does make it quite difficult is you use curves to judge your distance to certain points. And there's only however many slight left-hand curves that you can picture in your mind. So I'm just going to coast and drive out the train. As you can see, the speed's pushing off quite nicely without any brake application at all. Unfortunately, I'm getting some stutters. I do believe that's just tyre loading stutter, which there isn't a great deal I can do about. Need a little bit more power. Again, this is just, yeah. As you can see, it's just the lack of any sort of visual reference here does make things quite difficult. So I'm just going to coast over now, and then just use a gentle step on brake. And go up to step 2. Yeah, pretty much now about 0.7 of a mile away from St Erth station. So this service here is actually the service that sort of positions the unit in to work the day services, because this unit will then now spend the rest of the day performing the shuttle between St Erth and St Ives. And you'll see the platform that I'll use for the rest of the day to our left as we arrive. You can feel we're going down quite a steep slope now, and the station will be just coming into view on the outside of this curve. That's actually with the overbridge on the station. You can see on our left there the platform which the train will use for the rest of its day's service. Okay, so welcome back to the people who jumped forward in the timestamps. I'm going to have to figure that out in post-production. What the jump forward point was, if you missed so far, this is just us arriving at St Erth now. There we go. Welcome to St Erth. You can see platform 3 there, which will be the location that this unit will then come back to. I do think the GWR livery does suit the 150s, although I do prefer the dynamic lines, I believe it was called. Out of interest, 10 minutes wise we're at 20 seconds late, which that's not too bad. So next up is Lowland Saltings. Let's get a bit of speed up so you can see we've got the 15 limit as we diverge down here. So I'm just going to let that speed build. It does then increase back to 30 miles an hour for the cruise down to St Ives. You're really just using a gentle amount of brake application. Gentle amount of power, sorry. Just going to cruise down here. As mentioned, Lowland Saltings on next station stop. So you can see local haul trains will be limited to 10 miles an hour down here, but as we're a unit we can do 30. Okay, that's about time. We'll have to put the power down, we'll get up to 30. I do absolutely love the branch lines in Devon and Cornwall. After this I'm also going to cover the Looe Valley branch. One of the joys of driving around at 30 miles an hour is it really is just out of visually judging all the stops. You know, there's no brilliant, we've gone over a bridge and you start braking 2 seconds afterwards. It's just, I can see the station, brilliant, let's start braking for it. This is Lowland Salting Station. I believe it's a park and ride, effectively, for other parts of the route. Okay, there we go. Welcome to Lowland Saltings. Just putting the reverse into neutral there. So this is our penultimate stop on this journey. After this, it's a fast run through the St Ives. On the way, we'll be passing Lowland Station at speed, and well, at speed of 30 miles an hour, and the same for Carbis Bay. Just to give you an idea of the distance involved as well, it's, I believe, from here, yeah, another 3 and a bit miles. So I'm just going to use notch 3 of power to pull away, just a nice gentle acceleration. As you can see, the view over there is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, we don't get a particularly panoramic view from the 152 due to the walk-through door, but even the second man's side does get a bit slightly better view than we do. I know both about the same now, but you can see we've got some fishing boats over there. I think that's probably St Earth still, I'm not sure. Just a beautifully scenic branch there. We do get some fairly steep gradients on this route as well. This is still a reasonably level section, but it's just something I want to be keeping my eyes sort of between the route and the speedometer, just to make sure we're not going too fast. This is Lowland Station. This is one of the stations we're skipping today. So So I do always like to give a blast on the horn as I pass through a station like this on a rural branch line. So it's a station like this where people just do not expect a train not to stop at. And it's just best for safety that we announce our presence. And make sure everyone gets well back from the platform. The platform edge, I should say. This will be coming up on the next speed restriction in the not too distant future. I believe it's the after there's a left, then a slight right hand curve, and at the end of that right hand curve is a 10-mile-an-hour speed restriction. That's in place for crossing. I'm just keeping my eyes on the curve just to make sure there's nothing going the other way. I say especially on river branch lines, it's where people take risks. No one in their right mind will try and cross the East Coast main line at Alexandra Palace on foot, but on a branch line like this where there's one train every hour, then they're more likely to take that risk. Going a little bit quick there. Make that speed wash back off. I'm not going to use a slight brake application because we're now going to start going downhill. Just gives us a bit of a buffer zone to allow the speed to increase before we have to react to it. Just going to use notch 2 of power just to keep us somewhat moving along. Okay, let's make that notch 3. I do believe some of the whistle boards are missing on this route as well, so whenever I do see a foot crossing I do sound the horn. Yes, so the 10 limit is in roughly that area there. No correction, that area there. My apologies. So I did drive a little too cautiously there. But as they all say, it's better to be a few minutes late and not have run someone over and broken and derailed the train than to be bang on time everywhere but derail the train. Be there, you're 5 minutes early and have derailed the train, sorry. And we'll go notch 2. So yeah, the zooming perspective I have is just because I do believe it's more realistic to look at it this way because A, more the scenery loads, and B, in the real world, if you're driving you can lean forward a bit and squint your eyes and to try and make things out in the distance, whereas in game you're very much forced into this perspective and it's not even your full eyesight, so it's very easy to miss the finer detail. There's that 10 limit I mentioned. And I wave to the person at the side of the road, thank them for stopping for me. Hey! I love these little details like that. Love that. Cool, so we're back up to 30 now. Because the tail end of the train will have cleared the point there. And now it's the final descent down, just using the brakes to control our speed, towards Carbis Bay and then finally St Ives. This is Carbis Bay Station, again, same trick with the horns. I really do enjoy this route here. as Carbis Bay, and now I say they will be approaching into St Ives very shortly. The queue for the approach to St Ives is a permanent caution sign, which I shall point out, but it's accompanied with an AWS alert, so... Okay, well, now that the line's leveled off a bit, we'll accelerate back up towards 30. And yeah, there you go, you can see St Ives just ahead of us there now. I believe that is the station. Yeah, that'll be the station. This is the permanent caution that I mentioned, that we're approaching now. That's just basically the equivalent of a single amber aspect. Okay, that's a 15 that I did forget about. And this is actually a descending viaduct. Welcome to St Ives. There we go. Well, that's going to do it for today's route learning video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to see more from me on a semi-regular basis, and we'll see you guys in the next chapter. Until then, bye for now.